They don't tell you about the cold. Everyone talks about the flak, the fighters, the bombs, but nobody mentions that at 25,000 feet over Germany in February, it's 60 below zero. Cold that makes your instruments freeze. Cold that makes your fingers stop working. Cold that seeps into your bones and never really leaves. I was Second Lieutenant James Parker, navigator on a B-17 flying fortress named Sweet Marie after our pilot's girl back in Oregon. 8th Air Force, 91st Bomb Group, stationed at Bassingbourn, 23 years old with a mathematics degree from Michigan State and 6 months of navigation training that didn't prepare me for a goddamn thing. They told me navigation was about calculations, charts and compasses and celestial sightings. Clean numbers that added up to coordinates on a map, made it sound almost peaceful, like solving problems in a classroom. First mission cured me of that fantasy. My job was simple on paper. Get us to the target. Get us home. 30 men depending on me to know where we were every second. One mistake, and we could end up over the wrong city, or worse, run out of fuel over the North Sea with no land in sight. I was good at it, too. First 9 missions went smooth. Hit our targets, made it back, no major problems. Started feeling confident. Started thinking maybe I'd be one of the lucky ones who made it through a full tour. That confidence almost killed us all. March 6, 1944. Our target was Berlin, the big one. The mission everyone feared because it meant flying deep into Germany, the heart of their air defenses. Every gun in the Reich would be pointed at us. Briefing was at 0400 hours. They showed us the route, the target, the flak concentrations. Made it sound achievable, just another mission. Our pilot, Captain Frank Morrison, pulled me aside afterward. Keep us on course, Parker. No screw-ups today, not over Berlin. Yes, sir, I said, like I had a choice. We took off at 0630, formed up with the rest of the group, and headed east into a sky that wanted us dead. I had no idea how bad it would get. The formation crossed into German airspace around 900. That's when the fighters hit us. Me-109, S and FW-190S coming out of the sun in pairs and flights. Our bomber shook with the sound of our own guns firing. 50 caliber machine guns from every position, top turret, ball turret, waist guns, tail gun. The noise was constant, deafening even through my leather helmet. I tried to focus on my charts, checked our position against landmarks below when I could see through the cloud cover, updated our heading, gave course corrections to Morrison over the intercom. But it was hard to concentrate with tracers streaking past the nose, with fighters making head-on passes, with the aircraft lurching and diving as Morrison tried to maintain formation and dodge attacks. Navigator, pilot, you sure about this heading? Affirmative, 095 degrees, 23 minutes to IP. IP, initial point, where we'd begin our bomb run, where we'd have to fly straight and level for 6 minutes while the bombardier aimed. 6 minutes of being a sitting duck for every gun in Berlin. The flak started 15 miles out, little black puffs appearing in the sky around us. Each one was an 88mm shell exploding, throwing shrapnel in every direction. If you were close enough to hear the explosion, you were close enough to die. They were close enough. The aircraft shuddered as shrapnel tore through the fuselage. I heard someone scream on the intercom. Then the tail gunner's voice, panicked. "We're hit! We're hit! Port side engines on fire!" I looked out my window. Number 2 engine was streaming smoke and flame. Morrison feathered the prop, hit the fire extinguisher. The fire went out, but the engine was dead. We were flying on 3 engines now, struggling to maintain altitude and position. "Can we make it?" Morrison asked. Not asking me specifically, asking the universe. "Affirmative," I said, trying to sound confident. Checked my charts, recalculated our fuel consumption with 1 engine out. The numbers weren't good, but they were possible. "We can make the target and get home." Should have kept my mouth shut. We reached the IP at 10:47 hours. The bombardier took control of the aircraft. Bomb bay doors open, starting the run. That's when it got worse. The flak intensified. Heavy flak now, concentrated over the target. The sky turned black with explosions. You could hear the shrapnel hitting the aircraft. Plink, 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 like hail on a tin roof, except this hail could kill you. We flew straight and level. 6 minutes that felt like 6 hours. 6 minutes of being hammered by anti-aircraft fire with no way to evade, no way to fight back, just endure and pray. Bombs away. The aircraft lurched upward as 4,000 pounds of bombs dropped free. Morrison immediately threw us into a hard left turn, diving to build up speed, trying to get out of the flak zone. That's when the second engine quit. Number 3 engine just died. No fire, no warning. 1 second it was running. The next it was windmilling uselessly. We were down to 2 engines on the left wing. The aircraft immediately wanted to roll right, pull us into a spin. Morrison fought the controls, boots pressed hard on the left rudder pedal, trying to keep us level. "Parker, I need a heading home. Now." I grabbed my charts with shaking hands, tried to plot a course. But my pencil wouldn't work. The lead had frozen. My fingers were numb inside my heated gloves. The cold was getting worse with the damage to the aircraft, wind screaming through new holes in the fuselage. Used my finger to trace the route, calculated the heading in my head. 270 degrees, due west. How far? Did the math. 450 miles to the English coast, with 2 engines and battle damage, against headwinds, while German fighters hunted wounded bombers like wolves after wounded deer. 450 miles, I said. Didn't say the rest, that we probably wouldn't make it. We fell out of formation, couldn't keep up anymore. Watched the other bombers pull away, heading home together, protected by their combined firepower. We were alone now. A straggler. The fighters found us 10 minutes later. They came in pairs. One would make a pass from the front while another hit us from behind. Our gunners were good. Shot down one Me-109, damaged another. But there were too many of them, and only one of us. The co-pilot took a 20-millimeter cannon shell through his side of the cockpit. The round didn't explode, God knows why, but it shattered his shoulder and part of his chest. He slumped forward against his controls, bleeding, unconscious. Morrison was screaming into the intercom, "Medic to the cockpit, co-pilot's hit." But our medic was busy. The waist gunner had taken shrapnel. The ball turret gunner was trapped. His turret mechanism had jammed, couldn't rotate, couldn't get out. He was crying on the intercom, begging someone to free him. I left my navigation table, crawled through the aircraft to help. The cold was incredible. The wind, the noise, everything was chaos. Found the medic working on the waist gunner. Kid from Iowa, maybe 19. He was gut-shot, holding his intestines with his hands. The medic was trying to give him morphine, but his hands were shaking so bad he couldn't get the needle in. I held the kid's hand, told him he'd be okay. He knew I was lying. We both knew. He died while I was holding him. Just stopped breathing. Eyes still open, looking at me. I crawled back to my station. Tried to focus. We needed to navigate, needed to find our way home. But I kept seeing that kid's eyes, Morrison's voice on the intercom. "Parker, I need another heading." We're drifting south. Looked at my charts. Nothing made sense. The landmarks below didn't match my maps. Either we'd drifted further than I thought, or the wind had pushed us off course, or I'd miscalculated. "Parker, heading." "Working on it." But I wasn't sure where we were. For the first time in 10 missions, I was lost. Lost over Germany with 2 engines and half a crew dead or dying. I forced myself to focus. Looked out the navigator's window, tried to identify landmarks. There, a river. Had to be the Elbe, or maybe the Saal. Hell, maybe the Weser. They all looked the same from 20,000 feet. Checked my watch. Calculated how long we'd been flying on this heading. Estimated wind drift. None of it felt right. The numbers didn't add up the way they should. Parker, we're burning fuel fast. I need to know if we're heading toward England or Holland or the goddamn Baltic. Give me something. I made a decision, based on partial information and gut feeling and desperation. Come left to 255. That should take us toward the coast. Should? Will. It will take us toward the coast. Another lie. I was maybe 60% confident, but 60% was better than nothing. We flew west, or what I hoped was west. The clouds had closed in below us. Couldn't see the ground anymore. No landmarks. Just white nothing stretching to the horizon. The fighters had broken off finally. Either we'd left their range, or they'd run low on fuel. Small mercy, but it left us alone with our damage and our dying. The ball turret gunner had stopped crying. Someone had finally freed him from the turret. He was up in the fuselage now, wrapped in blankets, in shock. The kid I'd watched die was covered with a tarp. The co-pilot was unconscious but breathing. The medic had done what he could. We'd started with 10 crew. Now we had 7 still functioning, 3 engines down to 2, hydraulics failing, fuel running low. Morrison's voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that meant he was terrified but wouldn't show it. Parker, how long to the coast? Checked my charts. Did the math. 90 minutes, maybe less if the wind shifts. And fuel? We'll make it. Another lie. The fuel gauges said we had maybe an hour, maybe less with the damaged fuel lines, with the leaks, with the increased consumption from running on 2 engines. We might make the coast. We might not make it to England, might have to ditch in the North Sea. Water temperature in March was maybe 40 degrees. You'd last 10 minutes in that water, maybe 15 if you were lucky. The radio operator was trying to raise anyone on the radio, sending out our position, or what we thought was our position, calling for help, getting nothing but static. We were alone up there. 7 men in a dying aircraft, somewhere over Germany or maybe Holland or maybe already over the sea. No one knew where we were, including me. I kept checking my charts, kept calculating, kept trying to make the numbers work. But navigation requires landmarks or celestial fixes or radio bearings. We had none of that, just dead reckoning and hope. And both were running out as fast as the fuel. The clouds finally broke around 1400 hours. I looked down and my heart stopped. Water. Miles and miles of water. We were over the North Sea. But which part? How far from England? Was that the English coast I could see in the distance, or was it still Holland? Morrison saw it too. Is that England? I think so. You think so, or you know so? I think so. He didn't respond for a moment. Then, we're running on fumes, Parker. If you're wrong, we're going swimming. I stared at the coastline, tried to match it to my maps. The shape was wrong, or maybe the angle was wrong. Maybe we'd approached from further south than I'd calculated, or maybe it wasn't England at all. The fuel warning lights came on, both inboard engines starting to sputter. We're not going to make it inland, Morrison said. Going to have to ditch. Ditch. Put the aircraft down on the water. Hope it doesn't break apart on impact. Hope we can get out before it sinks. Hope someone sees us. Hope rescue comes before hypothermia takes us. A lot of hoping. Wait, I said. Looked at my chart again. Saw something. A peninsula on the coast. That shape. Put us over that peninsula. That's Felixstowe. That's England. There's an RAF base there. You sure? Was I sure? Number? But I had to be. Yes, that's Felixstowe. Morrison made the decision, turned toward the peninsula. The engines were coughing now, dying. We were losing altitude, 300 feet per minute, then 500. I watched the altimeter unwind. 8,000 feet, 7,000, 6,000. The coastline was getting closer. I could see details now. A lighthouse, a pier, buildings. "That's England," the radio operator said. "I can see the markings on the beach." Thank God, but we were still going down. 4,000 feet, 3,000. The left inboard engine quit completely. The right was coughing, running on vapor. "Brace for impact," Morrison said. "Everyone in crash positions." I grabbed my knees, put my head down, listened to the wind screaming over the broken aircraft, listened to the remaining engine die, listened to Morrison calling out altitude. 2,000, 1,500, 1,000. We were in a glide now, no power, just gravity pulling us down toward England or the sea or whatever came first. 500. I could see the ground through the nose, fields, trees, a road. 300. We were going to hit hard, maybe too hard. 200. I closed my eyes, thought about my parents in Detroit, about the girl I'd left behind, about all the things I'd never get to do. 100. Brace, brace. We hit. The world exploded in noise and violence, metal screaming, things breaking, pain shooting through my body as we slammed into the earth and skidded across a field, tearing apart, digging a trench through English soil. Then silence. I was alive. Somehow, impossibly, I was alive. Someone was screaming for us to get out, get away from the aircraft. Fuel everywhere, risk of fire. I crawled out through a hole in the fuselage, fell into the mud. Looked back at sweet Marie. She'd brought us home, barely, but she'd done it. We'd made it. That was 20 years ago, 20 years, and it feels like yesterday. They patched me up. Broken ribs, concussion, frostbite on 3 fingers of my left hand. Lost the tip of one to gangrene. Small price compared to what we could have lost. Of the 10 men who took off that morning, 7 came home. The co-pilot died 3 days later from his wounds. The waist gunner was already gone. The ball turret gunner survived but was never the same. Spent the rest of his life in and out of VA hospitals. Morrison got a Distinguished Flying Cross for bringing us back. I got an Air Medal. The rest of the crew got Purple Hearts and handshakes and whatever help you could find at the bottom of a bottle. We flew 6 more missions before the war ended. Never talked about that day. Never discussed what happened over Berlin. It was just another mission in the logbook. Just another trip to hell and back. But I dream about it constantly. Dream about being lost in the clouds with no landmarks, no references, no idea where we are. Dream about watching those fuel gauges drop while trying to figure out if that's England or Holland or the North Sea below us. Dream about that kid's eyes, the waist gunner. How he looked at me while he died. Like I could save him. Like anyone could save him. I got out of the Air Force in 1946, came home to Detroit, used the GI Bill to finish my degree, got a job as an accountant, married Beth, a nurse who understood what silence meant. We have 2 kids, boy and a girl. Good life, normal life, the kind of life that kid from Iowa should have had. I can't look at maps anymore, can't navigate. Beth has to do all the driving when we go somewhere new because I freeze up, can't figure out where we are, start panicking that we're lost. Lost. That word, it haunts me. I was responsible for 30 men that day. My job was to know where we were, to get us to the target and bring us home. And I failed. I got lost. If that coastline hadn't appeared when it did, if my guess about Felixstowe had been wrong, we'd have ditched in the sea and probably all died. Luck saved us. Not skill, not training. Just dumb luck that we made it to England before the fuel ran out. People call us heroes. Thank us for our service. talk about the greatest generation. But I don't feel like a hero. I feel like a fraud. Like I stumbled through that war making guesses and calling them calculations, and somehow got lucky enough to survive. The real heroes are the ones who didn't make it back. The ones who knew exactly where they were when they died. The kids like that waist gunner, dying in the sky over Germany, far from home, scared and cold and alone. I live with their ghosts. They sit in my office while I work on spreadsheets and tax forms. They stand in my kitchen while I eat dinner with my family. They watch me play with my kids, and I know what they're thinking. Why him? Why did he get to come home? Why does he get this life when we got dirt and darkness and mothers crying at Western Union offices? I don't have an answer. Never will. All I know is that I was lost over Berlin in 1944, and in a lot of ways I never found my way back. The coordinates on my chart say I'm in Detroit, Michigan, in the United States of America, in 1964. But the part of me that matters is still up there. Still at 20,000 feet over Germany. Still trying to find home. Still lost in the clouds with no landmarks and the fuel running out and 7 men depending on me to know the way. And I never will.